Okay, I'm back on here at the Roseville School Board meeting. Just a couple more minutes before we get started here. About 2 more minutes according to my clock. And again, the agenda here. There's a few speakers. There's some oath of office for the various school board members, chair, clerk, treasurer. And then we have some speakers. Community input then, which is the main thing I'm here for. And then they'll have the minutes from last meeting, any appointments, resignations. Looks like they'll be talking about bids on the parking lot. Some engineering service contracts will be talked about. And then comes reports on COVID health and safety. And looks like they have some action items tonight. An appointment of Equity Alliance Minnesota Board Representative. And some sort of a report on study session. And then they'll have their board reports. And hopefully that's it. So I'm not sure how long a meeting this will be tonight. But again, this is the Roseville Area Schools Board meeting. Okay, it's 6:30 now.
Sign in at 5:29.
Huh? Oh.
Sign in at
6:29. 6:29. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we gotta get you to sign in by device, and we'll just send it at the last second. We'll have to figure out how to do that. This mask sucks. I hate wearing masks.
My electricity went off.
Oh yeah?
Furnace went off.
Ooh. Well, at least today wasn't quite as cold. Yeah.
It went back on just before I left home, so I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Good evening. January 11th, 2022, regular school board meeting of ISD 62 Roseville Area Schools. This is our policy report. Mr. Johnson, please call the roll. First, Director Anderson. Here. Chu.
Here.
Here. Treasurer Garden. Here. Johnson is here. Thank you. Madam Superintendent, do we have any adjustments to our agenda?
We do. I would like to remove the COVID health and safety update from a non-action item to an action item, 9B, along with the proposal for distance learning.
Thank you. Do you have any objections, or if not, I think we should move to approve that. So moved. Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So adjusted. With that, do we have any announcements from fellow board members? do have an announcement from the district, and I'll welcome to the podium the Parkview principal, Christy Smith-Olson, I believe has an announcement, and we'll be introducing someone to us this evening. So, Kristen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, school board members, superintendent. To get the call for the superintendent. I'm here tonight to honor this fine person. I want to give you a little bit of information first. The National Education Association defines National Board Certification as a voluntary advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. National Board Certification has national standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do. It is the most respected professional certification available in education and provides numerous benefits to teachers, students, and schools. It is designed to develop, retain, and recognize accomplished teachers and to generate ongoing improvement in schools nationwide. Teachers who receive National Board Certification have met high standards through study, expert evaluation, self-assessment, and probably the most important, the peer review. It's my honor to introduce Jessica Telsky, our newest National Board Certified teacher in Roseville schools. And I'm lucky enough to have Jess as a first grade teacher at Podium. Jess Telsky.
Thank you very much for the kind words. I have 3 thank yous that I'd like to say. I thought about it, and the first one would be to Jenny Ecken. She is my first grade partner teacher, and she's also nationally certified. She pushed me to get the certification, and she spent many hours reviewing, working with me, helping me through my papers, so she has been a huge support. My second thank you is to Sarah Buxton for being my support at home and pushing me to not give up and to listen to all my complaining that happened over the last 2 years. And then finally, I thought about it, and I'd like to thank the school board and Dr. Lake. I've watched several school board meetings online, and I think when I talk to my first grade class, the most important thing I tell them is kindness. You can be the smartest, you can be the most athletic, the most musical, but if you're not kind, that doesn't matter. And I've watched several, obviously, meetings, and I just want to thank you for continuing to push that kindness, acceptance of all, whether it's race, gender, sexuality, whatever it is, that you continue to push that to the forefront, because for the students, I really think that is the #1 priority in the classroom. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Jessica. And I know that, particularly in the last couple of years, the time and effort that it takes to do what's required to receive board certification has been tremendously just draining on you. So thank you, because I think it's a model and a kind of a thing that we know many teachers aspire to. And I think for those who don't know, less than 10% of the teaching staff of the district has received board certification. It really is an honor and really reflect the dedication and commitment to the profession, to bettering yourself, and to serving as a role model for those around you. So congratulations, and thank you for joining our ranks of board certified staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we will move to the oaths of office for our board members who have been reelected and our newly elected board members. So our administrative person, Michelle, I think will be administering the oaths. I don't know what order you want to call people to the podium.
We'll go alphabetically, if that's okay. My
Okay
last
with
name,
me.
so, Mr. Clark, would you like to go first?
Yeah, and if someone wants to come up and take a photo from a better angle, I mean, feel free to do that. Okay, come on up.
Make a scene. All right, I will ask you.
Oh, yes, and not only that, you're welcome, and if you want your family to stand with you, side by side, mine did when I did mine. Yeah, please.
So I'll ask you to raise your right hand. I'll read it first, get you have your text there, and then you just go ahead. So I, your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will discharge faithfully the duties of my office to the best of my judgment and ability.
I, Manus Clark, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will discharge faithfully the duties of my office to the best of my judgment and ability.
That's it, congratulations.
Thank you.
So thank you, Board Director Clark. Please come and take a seat at the table. Thank you.
And Director Goggins, would you like to come up next? Raise your right hand. And it will be I, your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will discharge faithfully the duties of my office to the best of my judgment and ability.
I, Kitty Goggins, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will discharge faithfully the duties of my office to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Welcome back, Director Young.
Director Johnson. All right, you can raise your right hand. I, your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will discharge faithfully the duties of my office to the best of my judgment and ability.
I, Curtis Johnson, do solemnly swear that I support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will discharge faithfully the duties of my office to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
From 4 years ago.
Yes.
I don't know.
A little.
Director Johnson, welcome back. Next, annually, we do also, it's recommended that we do reaffirm our school board governance policies. So entertain a motion to do that, to reaffirm our governance policies.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our government policies have been reaffirmed. Now we move into the board organization and offices. It is required by the Minnesota statutes that at our first meeting in January, we do organize and select the chair, clerk, and treasurer. While it's not mandated or termed officially, the tradition and history within the Roseville district has been for those of us who have been officers to serve for 2 years and then rotate and give others the opportunity to do that and serve in that capacity. And so we'll go through that process tonight and select our new chair, clerk, and treasurer. So with that, I would like to request any nominations for chair. Kitty.
I would like to nominate Director Johnson for the chair position.
Thank you. Any additional nominations for chair? Any additional nominations for chair? Any additional nominations for chair? Having asked 3 times and hearing none, nominations are closed. I would entertain a motion that, given that he's the only candidate, that we vote by acclamation to accept and approve Curtis's role as chair for the next 2 years. Someone maybe move that?
I move by acclamation,
Great.
Curtis as chair for 2 years.
Second.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Done. With that, I will turn the gavel over to new Chair Johnson, who will proceed with the clerk and treasurer business. Thank you. It has been an honor to serve as chair for the last couple of years, and I'm only thankful that my fellow board members had confidence in me that they didn't kick me out of the role before today. Thank you all.
Great job.
Thank you, Mike.
Probably that from view from over here. So, just before I start, Mike, really thank you for your service in the last 2 years. It's been great, and probably the first place.
Well, you're quite welcome, as you know, with Kitty and others. There's been a great history even before myself, of wonderful chairs who really, helped us organize and get going, has really run our meetings well. So thank you very much, sir. I look forward to serving with you.
Okay, so we've got 2 more offices, so looks like, we need a clerk, so I will accept nominations for clerk.
Chair, Chair Johnson, I nominate Director Anderson for the position.
Is there a second?
You don't need a second for the point of order, Mr. Chair. What we do is you ask 3 times if there are additional nominations.
Are there any additional nominations for clerk? Are there any additional nominations for clerk? Any additional nominations for clerk? With that, I will close nominations for clerk. Since you are the only one, then I will accept the motion.
I move that, Director Anderson is on the clerk.
Second, if you necessary.
I heard that.
All right. Do a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right, congratulations. Which leaves us a treasurer spot. So, I will accept nominations for treasurer. Clerk Anderson.
Chair Johnson, I would like to nominate Director Rose Chu for Office of Treasurer.
Okay, are there any other nominations for treasurer? Any other nominations for treasurer? Any other nominations for treasurer? I am closing nominations for treasurer. And entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve Rose as our treasurer again by acclamation as we come this way.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Yes.
You can vote for yourself. Those opposed say nay. Congratulations, treasurer. So that takes us to definition of our official newspaper.
So we just moved from the press is our official newspaper, and that is the same as in the past. So a vote.
So, entertain a motion?
I move that for the C time from the press is our official newspaper.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay. And that takes us to, community input.
Well, yes, great. We can put before consent agenda.
Correct.
Okay, if you'll bear with me while my timer pops up on the screen, our first speaker will be Mike Gregory, and he is a parent and community member.
Board members and superintendent want to thank the department for the community. My name is Mike Gregory. My family and I first moved to Roseville in 1991. We chose Roseville because we wanted our children to go to Brimhall Elementary School. We found Brimhall to be one of the most diverse schools in Minnesota. It was like a little United Nations. We were not disappointed. It was a great experience for ourselves and our children. It's my pleasure to be involved in the school. When we first moved here, I spoke to the principal and I asked how I could help. He told me I could head up the parent involvement team. I thought that meant to involve and recruit more people for the PTA. I asked him what that meant. He told me I was the leader and I could determine the direction. I developed a poll, statistically valid sampling program, and invited parents to attend with free pizza and daycare, and we had a focus group. What I learned, among other things, that single parents really needed and wanted was a night out. The following year, we set up a Friday night once a month with teachers, PTA, and 3 hours of watching children from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday night. We had popcorn, hot dogs, orange drink donated to McDonald's, vegetables, fruit, open gym, a game room, a dance room, a reading room, and other activities. We charged $1. If you were late in picking up your children, it was a $25 fine. We never had a late parent in any of those 9 months. The following year, we conducted the same poll, and we found out that our parents were extremely pleased with having had that initiative. What this taught me as a white, middle-class male with a set of values is that I needed to listen. I needed to provide what others needed, not what I wanted to provide. This also taught me that rather than recruiting for the PTA simply needed to encourage all parents to read to their children every day. Generally, single parents really did not have the time to be involved with the PTA for the most part. Reading to their children or being with their children was far more important than being with the PTA. Why I'm sharing this with you here today is to offer perspective and to thank you. I want to thank the superintendent, principals, the teachers, the staff, everyone associated with this district for the work you do and for listening. I was deeply sad at the death of one of your principals recently. This hit me very hard. I know his twin brother very well. I'm a twin. It was emotionally very hard. I recently brought to my attention an article about the principal at Brimhall School. I could hardly believe what I was reading. The article was entitled, "Threats Burnout Pushed a Minnesota Teacher of the Year to Quit." He's still the principal at Brimhall. He quit another broader position. From a commentary from Minnesota Public Radio, I heard, I received threats that I should kill myself, threats that I will be hung through a military tribunal. I've been told that they're monitoring me on social media and things like that, and it ebbs and flows. There's been several stories written about me through the various, and I hesitate to even call them, media outlets across the country. And when one of those gets posted in a story, rehashed, then I notice a significant uptick on those kind of hate-filled emails. Am I done? Okay, I'm sorry. Bottom line was, I came here to thank all of you and the teachers and everybody at Brimhall. When I called and spoke with them, they put out an email. The person I spoke to at Brimhall School broke down and cried. We cried. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Keep up the good work. Protect all of our children as you're doing. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kathleen Bart, and she is a parent.
Hi, I came here today to ask you to keep schools open and to change the quarantine policy. Little did I know until I arrived that tonight we would be voting on moving our kids to distance learning, so my speech is also about that. Recently I was told that my kid, who's in middle school, would have to quarantine for 10 days after getting COVID, and that any siblings, if there were any siblings in the house, they'd have to quarantine for 14 days. So a kid without COVID, without any symptoms, even with a negative test, would have to quarantine in this high school for 14 days. These are kids who are trying to get into college. These are kids of color. You know, you guys say so much every single meeting. Equity, we'll talk about it again today, I'm sure. It's on the agenda. Equity, kids of color, we love them, we care about them so much. But you're failing them. The reading rates for white kids in Roseville schools is 75% compared to, for white kids, 75% compared to 36% for black kids. Math is 68% compared to 27%. Yet you're gonna try to shut down the school and go to distance learning? Who is gonna gonna be hurt the most. These kids are gonna be hurt the most. The ones that you say you care about the most. And it's just atrocious. All the white schools up in the rural areas and suburbs keep their schools open. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Roseville closes it. We have the biggest population of kids of color. And I don't know how you guys can keep spouting how much you care when practical things like keeping school open, the only thing you're here to do, can't be done. I don't like the fact that the COVID policy is different for kids who are vaccinated and unvaccinated. We all know that people who are vaccinated get COVID. One of the people arguing at the Supreme Court, one of the attorneys arguing for mandates, was vaccinated, had a booster, was at home because he had COVID. You know that happens. We all know that's reality. We all know everyone who's vaccinated gets COVID. People shouldn't be treated differently. My mother-in-law and my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law died of COVID in September within a week of each other. They were both vaccinated. Don't tell me they don't get sick and die. They should not be treated differently. Even the CDC has acknowledged that a 10-day quarantine is too long. And they talk a lot about how kids should be educated. They acknowledge science that the Omicron virus is not that bad. It's almost 100% of the cases. But in summary, I'd like to quote a few of the people that a lot of you know and trust who are completely against distance learning. The Biden administration said reducing quarantines after COVID exposure would help prevent absenteeism and learning loss. The CDC director said it is clear the best place for children is in school and learning, and it can be done safely. The Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry has said, we need to make sure kids are in school so that they can learn. He's concerned about all the carjacking. There was a carjacking at my gym a few weeks ago, Experience Fitness, 13-year-olds. Terrified, to go work out. This is what happens. We wonder why things are the way they are. This is what happens when we don't have schools open. So I'm here to ask you to not cancel school. I'm asking you not to cancel school, to have a reasonable quarantine policy, and I'm sad that I have to sit here begging for schools to stay open when your only job is to teach our kids.
Our next speaker is Kathleen Bart, and she's a community member.
My mother-in-law and sister are, did you hear that? They're dead too. I watched her die with my very eyes. So don't tell me he's dead.
Last month, I asked the school board, how are you protecting girls in their bathrooms and locker rooms? When an unjust law states that boys are allowed to use the girls' bathrooms if they happen to feel gender fluid that day. The response I received was an affirmation of the law that I already pointed out was unjust. The law is unjust because it takes away the rights of girls with privacy in their bathrooms. Our country has had many unjust laws. Anyone remember slavery? Fortunately, the Republican Party was formed to abolish it. Segregation, women's suffrage, our country is not immune to unjust laws. This is another unjust law because it discriminates against girls. Again, I ask, what are you doing to protect girls in their bathrooms and locker rooms? Are you letting parents and girls know that boys may be using these private spaces? Do you take a roll call each day having students declare if they are transgender, gender fluid, non-binary, etc. each day and make sure that girls are aware of who they are sharing their bathrooms with on any given day? As a mother of 6 girls and a tax-paying resident of the Roseville School District, I and every other tax-paying resident deserves a real answer to the question of how you are protecting girls in their bathrooms and locker rooms. When a girl is attacked and or raped in her bathroom or locker room, every parent feels that pain, and every tax-paying resident of the Roseville School District ends up footing the bill for the lawsuit aimed at the reckless manner in which this law was applied. So again, I ask, what are you doing to protect girls in their bathrooms and locker rooms? And I would appreciate a real answer this time. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bruce Ona, and he is a parent and community member.
Hello, neighbors. So I looked at the equity training curriculum being taught to staff of Roseville area schools. And it's very similar to the CRT narrative that whiteness and whites are oppressors, as if skin color determined character or the heart of an individual. This very sad racist theory says, quote, speak your truth, parentheses, acknowledging that whiteness is part of the truth, parentheses. Like the Spanish Inquisition, they're looking for people to confess whiteness as if it's a conspiratorial supremacy or oppressive movement that's ongoing in America today. We all thank the Lord this is not the case. Martin Luther King Jr. said graciously, this must not lead us to a distrust of all white people, for many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize their destiny is tied up in our destiny too. The equity training at Ross is the sort of narrative, a Marxist narrative, working to bring a revolution to overthrow a free nation which is constitutionally run. Further down in your equity training manual, says equity means recognizing that we do not all start from the same place, unquote. And that's true as individuals, we're all at a different place, we're all unique. But you need to also add that equity also means we do all start from the same place in America, as far as, like Martin Luther King again said, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Each staff person and student has equal worth and value based on they were created in God's image.
Amen.
They were created, not evolved by happenstance, but they're a magnificent plan of God. They're greatly loved by the one who created them, that we are not a victim of chance, evolution, or oppressive social structure, but at birth, even in the mother's womb, we have basic human value of a purpose, a destiny, a plan by God for their lives, not a chance or an accident. Sorry, it's kind of hard to breathe through this. I hope you can hear me.
And our last speaker is Angela Byrne, who is a parent.
Good evening, Angela Byrne, Around Day Parent. I'm speaking on behalf of a coalition of folks that are here tonight.
Sorry, before we start, you said you were speaking on behalf of the delegation. If any of those people are here, could you have them raise their hands?
And then my husband and child are here, but they're in the back speaking to Director Smith at the moment.
Very good.
Thank you.
Could I use the longer time?
Thank you. Yeah, in the expediency, instead of having all four of us speak individually in 12 minutes, we'll use delegation time 10 minutes. Thank you. So I'm speaking here tonight with me. I have Anita McDonald, who's a longtime Roseville resident and mother of 3 children who are all Brim Hall alum and are graduating, have graduated or are at Roz. I also have Karen Henry with me, who is a mother of 2 children at Roz. As I said before, my husband Patrick and my daughter Hen is here, who is trans, and she does exist. Her existence is valid. Her bathroom use is valid, and I'll be here defending that every time. And then I did have some folks that planned on coming tonight but had last minute conflicts, or they had positive COVID cases come up. So Kathy Vermont sends her support. She's co-founder of Do It Roseville, longtime Roseville resident. And she's been here many times in support of DEI initiatives by the district. Lynn Huberty, who is the co-founder of the Roseville Activist Facebook group with nearly 500 members. She's a member of, or a mom of 4, all of which are either in or will be in Roseville schools. And then also you've received emails from Karenza Fisher and Carolyn Helmerson, who are both mothers of children in the district, as well as Dana Thompson, who is a community member and former city council candidate. And all of them are here sending their support at the beginning of this year for continued efforts on DEI work throughout the district in the individual buildings to make sure that we continue to close those racial gaps that were spoken about in a previous public comment. So now me speaking as an individual very quickly, and relating to support of DEI work, the debate about whether or not to close our schools, I think, is lacking nuance in that our schools have become community hubs. Children receive a safe space, a safe physical space, they receive food, they receive education, they even receive healthcare here that is unavailable out in the community to many of them. I think if we're going to actually have the debate of whether or not to leave schools open as them being the safe spaces for them to be while we are in the midst of a global pandemic with another enormous surge of another variant that we're still learning about, is that we need to talk about how we as a society have declined to prioritize equity in housing, in income and jobs, in education, and in healthcare. Any aspect, you name it, we can find racial disparities in it. So our schools are picking up all of that slack to make sure that children are cared for here, because that is the one place that we can actually count on that. And we're still working every day to make sure we improve it. So that way the children are not discriminated here in the same way they're discriminated against out in society. Declaring someone's heart based on their skin color has been codified into every aspect of our society and our law, in that it has been to advantage people of my skin color who are white, and to disadvantage and to declare people that are not white as hoodlums, thugs, we name it, all the derogatory terms that I don't even want to say here because they are so loaded. So I'm interested to see the conversation here tonight about keeping our schools closed. The folks that are here with me tonight are starting out this year recommitting to supporting your work in continuing DEI work in this district and making sure that we continue to close those gaps. Thank you so much.
And then move to our consent agenda.
I'm going to go off now. I'll probably come on in another minute.